Illinois announced his stay-at-home order to last through April 7th. Since then, the governor of Indiana has, I believe, as of Monday, I think, also ordered a stay-at-home order or something of the equivalent, perhaps a shelter-in-place. But one thing I know, and that's that if you're a salon owner in our Illinois and Indiana area and many of the states beyond, you've had to do something that you never ever thought you would have to do, and that's close your business. And I know, I want to tell you that I understand. I get that. We all have had to do that, and we all have had to, we're kind of going through this thing called life together, and this thing called COVID-19 and the coronavirus together. There's so many frustrating, challenging parts of this, and I think that the number one thing is not really having an idea when it's going to end. You know, will this really be an April 7th, or will it go on longer? What are the provisions that are going to be put in place by the government to help small businesses, small to mid-sized businesses? What are going to be in place to specifically help salons, hairdressers, independents? And so we're going to try and be a source of information for you and have potentially experts join us to help you. We're working on a plan that when it comes time, should you choose to go with the emergency SBA loan, to have some people here that can help you with the amount of paperwork that needs to be done in order to make that happen. So we know we're in this together. We know that that it hurts. We ourselves at PSC had to make the announcement on Friday evening that we were laying off a temporary layoff for our staff, almost top to bottom. And again, that's something that I never thought that I would have to do as a business owner. It had never been done before. In the weekend, as I drove around, I thought back to conversations that I had around the dinner table growing up. Many of you know I'm third generation in the salon industry. And my grandfather had a distributorship during the time of the Great Depression. And my mom was just growing up then, and she said to me, all the years that I was growing up, she said, you know, the salon business, the beauty business, the barber business is, in her words, it was depression proof. In her words, it was recession proof. And I just always believed that. I never questioned it. She said we never missed a meal during the Great Depression. We were always taken care of. You know, my dad, which is my grandfather, was a great provider for the family. They had a big family. And so didn't really give that much thought, thinking that we would always, I mean, we've been through recessions. When I say we, you salons and us have been through recessions before. Most recently was the big kind of crash in 2008. We've been recovering from that ever since. But we recover, that's the thing. What hairdressers do, one guest at a time, in 30 to 60 minute increments, what barbers do, one guest at a time, is a magical thing. We help people to feel better. People feel better when they leave than when they came in. We alter what's 70% of someone's first impression. And that's magic, what you do. We also see them and we hear them. And there's so many people in life who go through their life not being seen or not being heard when they hit their head on the pillow at night. And so to take you away from not only what you do on a daily basis, but to take you away from your guests and what they count on you for, I know is a tremendously difficult thing. I want to tell you why I'm wearing this hat. If you can read it, it says Hairdressers Unlocking Hope. And on top of it, it's Vidal Sassoon. On the bottom of it is BehindTheChair.com. I was really proud to be one of the early responders to Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana right after it happened. In the middle of that, in the midst of all of that, these two companies, this industry icon, but also soon. And BehindTheChair.com, as well as people like Win Claybaugh, Paul Mitchell Schools, as well as many of the industry manufacturers got behind this effort to build a community of homes, rebuild a community of homes in Slidell, Louisiana. And it was more than that. It was our industry as an industry giving back. It was our industry looking and saying, how can we help a devastated area? And I'll never forget the first day that I drove into Slidell, Louisiana, before there was a Hairdressers Unlocking Hope. I drove in, and growing up around the Midwest, we're used to tornadoes. And tornadoes are very selective. They hit one house, they hit a group of houses, and they'll skip over one house and start again. And so church communities and neighborhood communities could get behind those who were affected by this catastrophic event. And when I went to Slidell, when I drove through Louisiana, what you saw was every single house in a neighborhood, everybody was going through the same thing. So I was there the first day that they let people back into their homes. And I was struck by the fact that I saw individuals, one person per house, bringing things out to the curb, bringing their belongings, bringing their memories, bringing all of those things out to the curb. And my first thought was, why are they doing that by themselves? Where's their help? And then I realized the next house was doing the same thing, and the next was doing the same thing, and the next was doing the same thing. And my friend's house in that neighborhood had a boat, a big boat going through the front door of his house. And all that being said, it was my first real view of the fact that people were all in the same boat. People were all experiencing that devastation at once. And so when this theme came about, Hairdressers Unlocking Hope, I remember driving through Louisiana, my friend Sam Mercado at the time, he and I were driving through together, and he said, Steve, one thing I've learned through tragedy is that we as a group need to take care of our own. If the hairdressers would take care of hairdressers, if the plumbers would take care of plumbers, if the electricians would take care of electricians, if the medical teams, obviously they're very busy right now, but you get the point. It's people helping their own, and it could be a church group helping its own church group. And that's what I want to call everybody to. That thought process that we have is we're alone right now. What are we doing to contribute to our industry? What are we doing to reach out, to make a phone call to somebody that you know, to make a phone call to your staff? That's one thing I'm going to recommend. There's a lot of people are using it right now, but it's called Zoom, zoom.com. We're using it for our distance learning, our temporary distance learning for our schools. Many universities and junior colleges and private colleges are using it. Companies are using it. If you'll recall, on the last video that we did, I mentioned a YouTube by Simon Sinek that talked about remote teams. Right now, your salon, you and your salon are remote teams. And so I would say at least once a week, gather remotely over Zoom or the equivalent with your teams, just for a wellness check, just for looking at people's faces, just to be able to be that purveyor of hope. Our group, we take care of our own, right? And so by doing that, also I would hope that your individual stylist or you as a salon owner would also reach out with just a quick message of something, some kind of hope, other than just social media. Because right now social media is clogged with information, with just stuff. There's some people that are going on all hours, 24/7 with video, where I'm going to try and keep this short because I want you to be able to watch it and gain from it. But some of them are quite long, and they all seem to be the same, and some are positive, some are not. How can you reach out in a positive fashion to your salon guests, to your best? Who are your best? How are you going to reach out? What are you planning for right now for the comeback? You know, every setback, as Tim Story says, every setback has the potential for a comeback, right? And so how are we going to come back into the marketplace? Who are we going to call first when that gate is lifted and we get to go back into the salons? Hopefully we're going to call. Hopefully you're preparing some spreadsheets, maybe Excel spreadsheet, maybe a paper list of who are going to be those first calls when you get back to be able to accommodate for appointments. Hopefully you're thinking right now, how do you add additional hours to the book? Talk to your staff about that. But I know instinctively you'll move toward those things. Here's the things that I think you won't instinctively move toward. How do we apply for any aid money, any government aid money for this catastrophe, for this world event that's taking place called the novel coronavirus? That doesn't come natural. So please make sure that you're doing those things. Sustainability, to be able to sustain a business, is very, very important. And so that should be some of the things that you're looking at right now. Something that I know isn't the answer, and if it's the answer for you, so be it. We all have different ways of staying afloat in this. But I got to say, I'm not real comfortable seeing some of the posts where salons are offering to have people drive up in front of their salon and they give their color formula. They give them the actual color, the developer, a bowl and a brush, and say, you know, we're going to keep you looking great while we're off. I think that there's several things. First of all, I think we need to protect our profession. Your knowledge and your skill comes into play with color. Many things in our business, people pay for your time. But when it comes to take home, when it comes to color, especially, they're paying for your knowledge. And I think when we give that away, when we put that in the hands of other people, how is someone going to really understand the difference from that and color they can buy at the grocery store? What you're doing, I think, in that case is you're putting all the quality, the difference between the grocery store and your color, you're putting that into the quality of the hair color. You're giving away what's given to you by your profession, the knowledge that you've gained by your profession. And so when you look at that, I would just question it. If it feels right to you, I would also say you've got some potential liability there because all of our hair color products are labeled for professional use. And the various warranties and guarantees and whatnot come from the professional applying that product. So that's just a little sidebar, a little rant, but I think it's important. I think that we need to look. Every decision we make during this time has a domino effect. It affects 3 or 4 other things or more. So I think what I want to finish with here is I want to go back to this idea that we learned from John Gordon. And it's right now, we need to love your teams. Of course, you're going to love your families. I didn't mean to put them second. You're going to love your families. You're going to love your teams. You're going to love your communities. You're going to love all of us by following the stay-at-home orders that are in place. Because the longer we don't, the longer we allow this to take place. And we need to serve. We need to serve the future of your team. We need to serve each other by doing what's right. We need to serve your team by preparing for the future, preparing for that comeback that happens after this setback. And then, most important, we need to care. We need to care about one another. We need to care about the quality that we're putting out into the marketplace and that we will put out into the marketplace. People aren't going to remember. They'll remember how catastrophic this is and how we were all in the same boat. But they'll remember how you treated them during this time. And so we're going to treat people with care. We're going to treat people by serving them. We're going to treat people by loving them. And That's what that's what we would call you to do. Realize we're all in this together. So when somebody says, "How are you?" they already know, right? I mean, my general response to that is same as you. You know, how are you? Same as you. You know, we're all going through something together and something we haven't been through before. So identifying why it is you're talking to them, just that you care. I'm sending out wellness checks to friends, checks meaning not handwritten checks, money. I'm checking on them through text, through phone calls, and so on. And I'd encourage you to do the same. So the next time that we gather through this medium, I'm going to try and bring you some things, some of the aid and relief things that are in place, are coming in place, and that are, you know, we're literally going through daily updates on things like that. So thank you for watching. Thanks for being loyal to PSC. Thanks to the PSC team for hanging in there and going through this with us. And just know that we will come out the other side of this. This too will pass, and that we can't, but God can. And it's just like, I think Terry said when I was going out the door this morning, she said, "Dear God." And I said, He's with us, and He is. So with that, have a terrific day, and we'll talk to you again. Thanks.